Michael, I have a question for you, my friend.
Yes.
If you are Michael Schwalbe, that means the existence of Michael Schwalwasp exists as well, and Schwal Hornet as well. In that
This interview
regard,
is over. Cut the.
ah,
Call my agent.
no, shit. Uh, but welcome everybody to another episode of OverVoice Season 3. Today I'm joined by the lovely Michael Schwalbe. Michael, would you like to introduce yourself?
Uh, I would, but does can I interrupt and say that the presence of a Vikram also then leads the listener to think of a Vic U?
Damn, that is crazy. I can't believe you would say that. That's insane.
Gotta spike it back. Ball's in your court now. So, hello, my name is Michael Schwalbe. I'm a voice actor, a casting director, and a performance director. Uh, you probably have heard something I've been in, but you probably didn't know it was me. And yeah, what else should I say? I'm located in Las Vegas, Nevada. I am a creature of the desert, and yeah.
Hell yeah. But yeah, my first question to you is what got you into voice acting and what's your journey been like so far?
Well, how much time do you have? No. uh, the short answer is I wanted to, so I did. The middle long answer is I decided that I was going to call myself a professional voice actor and then never prove myself wrong. And then the third actual answer is that I had been in Nashville for 9 years trying to hack it in the music industry. I was a singer, I was a musician as well, but primarily at the time I was trying to sing. And this was like 2010 ish. And the music industry, for anybody that is tangentially aware or involved in it, was in a horrible, horrible place in 2010, and nobody was making money in music. I was working for a division of Warner Music Group at the time after college. And so I was seeing like just how little money, like I got the reports and stuff, we could see how little money they were all making. And so I was like, okay, I need to do something else because we're on Music Row. All the record labels and production companies and studios are all going under. They're being bulldozed and turned into condos. And it's like, well, maybe I could do this voice acting thing and like that could make me some side money while I'm like touring and whatever. But then it was like, oh, this is way more like accessible and potentially lucrative than singing was at the time. So actually, I think I'm just going to do that. And 13 years later, here we are.
Hell yeah. I didn't know that there was a music thing in 2010. Like I'm guessing that was like I don't know what it was exactly, but like 2010 was like a weird time for
It
like
was
music and
not
stuff.
just 2010. It was a trend that kind of culminated like in that time, basically. But like from 1996, which was the peak of the music industry, they were making about $20 billion a year globally. And then, or maybe that was US. I think it was globally. Anyway, no, maybe it doesn't matter. So then by 2008, 2007, it was down from 20 to $4.5 billion. So
Oh
like
wow.
most of all the revenue that was in music evaporated because CD sales fell off. The
Mm.
accessibility and ease of piracy devastated the music industry, and then there was nothing that really took its place. Vinyl sales were long gone, not even relevant. There was
Yeah.
one vinyl presser left in like the world, and it was in Nashville. But then something like, uh, I don't remember the exact statistic, but it ended up being that like there wasn't streaming revenue really yet.
Yeah.
And so then the digital revenue from iTunes was pretty insignificant because if you're downloading digital copies online, people would just download them via piracy or burn CDs or
Oh
whatever.
yeah.
So it just, yeah, all these things kind of made a perfect storm, and just everybody went out of business basically. And so since then, it's recovered a lot, because
Yeah.
the ubiquity of streaming has shored up a lot of that shortfall. But then also vinyl is back in a big way. Vinyl,
Yeah.
and it's a novelty now. Having physical analog media is really, really cool and fresh and new again. So it's kind of like what happened in board games, really, where
Yeah.
the cycle finally came back around, and enough time had passed that the physical media was cool again. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
completely forgot, like, pirating thing back in the early 2010s, Like, where
yeah,
I wonder what, Circuit City's doing nowadays, you know?
yeah, right. Let's go check in on them. Well, and it's evident that those trends are still relevant because like Target and Best Buy and Walmart, like they've all gotten rid of their music selections
Oh, wow.
outside of like a few vinyls. They don't really sell CDs anywhere really anymore.
Yeah.
So
It's like,
brave new world.
when the video stores started shutting down,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. Yep. Kind of like
I
when
s
Netflix
there's
shut them down.
Yeah, there's still, like, one video store, but it's like a shell of its former self, you know? I miss it a
Which
lot.
one is that? Or is that down
Um,
in New Zealand?
it's down in New Zealand. It's this old ass video store. It's been around for, like, probably before I was alive,
That's
probably.
cool that it's still clinging to existence, though. I recently
Yeah.
just heard that Redbox declared bankruptcy, so it's like, wow.
Oh, wow.
And they were
That's
the
a big
big
one.
like disruptor for a while, and so now they're toast too. So
Yeah, the biggest one for me, apart from that one, was probably Blockbuster or Civic Video and stuff.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, it's still weird to me that Blockbuster almost became Netflix, but
yeah,
they
they could
turned it
have bought
down.
it. I think
Yeah,
they turned it down for like $50 million or something.
yeah. I don't
Nice.
think Netflix had the money at the time, but they probably do now. But
Yeah,
yeah,
probably. I think they're doing pretty okay, from what I
yeah.
hear.
At the moment, it's ebbs and flows, I would say. But yeah, you mentioned touring a lot. So were you like a solo artist, or were you in a band?
No, I was in a metal band
Oh, that's
called
so cool.
Invicta. Although if you search Invicta on Spotify, we kind of went. We didn't break up, but I moved to LA to pursue voice acting, and so we kind of just went on hiatus for years and years. But in the lapse between when I left and now, we had a trademark on the name and we let it lapse, and since then like three other Invictas have popped up.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so you're looking, if somebody's listening to this and they're trying to stalk me, try to look for like Invicta Nashville or Invicta Metal, or I don't know.
Hell yeah.
If it
That's also
sucks, it's not us. If it's great, it is us. Because the other one's a point of pride. I'm like, these guys aren't good. Come on.
hell yeah. I didn't know you were part of a band. So that's fucking awesome, dude. Like, what was that like?
I mean, it was ultimately probably the wrong place and time. I feel like, if we came along 8 years later in like California or Florida or like somewhere with a metal community, I think it would have been a totally different thing, because we ended up getting a lot of like most of our fans were over in like Norway and shit. So it's
Oh,
like,
wow.
well, I'm sorry guys, we probably can't make it over there for a show. But yeah, it was tough to get off the ground because we were in a country city, but then also like all the rock venues that were in town were just one by one, they were all going under, and so I was like, well, what do we do? But we're still
Yeah.
making some new music. We just put out a new single, first new single in like 4 or 5 years, in
Nice.
May. Song is called "Sacrifice the Weak." So if you search "Sacrifice the Weak" Invicta, that'll show us up. But
Hell
it's
yeah.
not a love song. I call it a loathe song, and
A love
ode
song.
to the corporate vultures and oppressors worldwide that are hell bent on turning this world as shitty and broken and exploitative as possible.
Oh yeah.
Metal things.
Yeah. I ask, what did you have like any metal band inspires before you started?
Oh yeah, definitely. I would say our big influences when we started were a band called Between the Buried and Me, and then um, Alice in Chains, iconic.
Mm.
The Deftones, specifically for like the harmonies and just grunginess of it. We really dug that. And then uh, a lot for me personally. I'm a huge Opeth fan, and so putting in some of that like really esoteric and really like philosophical bent into the music alongside some pretty ambitious change ups, where the whole point or that we were trying to go for in a lot of our songs was like beauty amidst brutality. So it's like contrasts. The beautiful lush sections highlight the more like the savagery of the really intense parts, and so that's kind of a creative thing that I groove on in pretty much every form of media that I dabble in, whether it's poetry or photography or the desert itself. It's why I love living out here, is that like bleakness, but then interspersed with little pockets of like beauty and wildflowers and wildlife that's surviving amidst that adversity.
Hell yeah, you probably love the Dune movies then.
I've actually never seen them.
Oh, but I'll telling you this, man. There's a lot of desert in that, so
Yeah,
you'll love it.
I've heard from a number of people because my general aesthetic is like I apparently very Dune esque, and so almost everywhere I go, people were like, "Oh, big Dune fan, huh?" And I'm like, maybe, probably. I hear good things, but
Nah,
now I feel like I'm almost.
Bro was
I
in the
feel like
desert before it was cool.
yeah, I feel like I'm supposed to not like I need to not watch them now so that I can defend the independence and validity of my aesthetic outside of their influence.
That's fair. That's me with the Avatar movies, the blue people Avatar
I've never
movies.
seen those either.
Oh, thank you. Someone understands.
I
I
just
just haven't
I
come around to
I
it.
don't know. My incredibly pretentious answer to a lot of these things is, my dear, I don't consume media, I create it.
You
Although,
know what? Valid.
there's downsides to that too.
But with the Avatar movies, I haven't seen them, but part of me wants to wait for all of them to come out because there's gonna be like millions of them. I want all of them to come out and then binge all of them, so that'll be like a 24-hour binge
You might
session.
end up finding yourself in the middle of the next like Marvel Cinematic Universe where you got dozens of them and you're like, this was a mistake.
I mean, as long as it's not like like movie, TV show, I think it'll be okay. I don't know, the MCU was able to keep up, but I actually missed out on a lot of the other MCU movies as well, like the Incredible Hulk, like the 2008 one. I've never seen it.
I never seen it. I just do not watch movies. I don't watch TV. I'm like absent. They're beneath me. No, I don't know. I love reading. I think
Mm,
that's and writing. I love writing, and so I feel like the written word to me is much more engaging because I feel like it on screen. It's kind of limiting. You can only really get invested in a actor's like internal experience so much. It's pretty difficult to portray an internal experience or an emotional experience on screen. So I feel like whereas a book, they can dive in not just to the physical surroundings, the like corporeal stuff, but also get into the really ephemeral and like ethereal internal stuff that I really like groove on, which is like the character motivations and psychology and all that kind of dumb shit that artists like faffing about. I ended up, I don't know if you um, missed out on half the answer or all of it or whatever, but it is still recorded on my side. So you'll just be
okay,
frozen for a portion of it, I think. But,
that's okay.
yeah, so to summarize what I was saying, I really groove on like internal experience and like the psychological stuff of people's motivations and not just in books, but like in acting too. That's what I really find immersive and compelling. So when I'm just watching something on a screen, you're limited by the screen and the camera to what they're visibly showing you. Basically, maybe there's some storytelling involved to like help you get into their mind state or whatever, but it's not quite as accessible as it is with written word.
That's fair. Do you have any favorite like sort of books or anything?
Oh yeah. I mean, well, right now, I'm. Everybody was reading this a little while ago, but I'm most of the way through this "How to Lose the Time War,"
Oh,
which
I've
went
seen it around.
super
Yeah.
super viral. It's so good, but I still don't know how it ends. I have a feeling, but so no spoilers.
Okay.
And then let's see. I'm reading. This is. I swear I'm not as pretentious as I sound, he says, pulling this book out. Also reading through Indeterminate Inflorescence, which is
Ooh.
a mouthful, but this is a really, really insightful, fascinating book. It's a collection of aphorisms on the craft of writing poetry and creation from South Korean poet laureate Lee Seong-bok, and it
Okay.
is so freaking cool.
Nice.
That guy is just on another galaxy of like artist brain and brilliance, and so it's almost meditative in a sense. Like it's structured like Zen koans, like mantras, almost these little
Oh, that's cool.
aphorisms.
Yeah.
And so you can kind of read each little self-contained thought that he's sharing, and then really it like mull it over and taste it and roll it around in your head to see like what kind of artistic truths like are lying below the surface, because some of them are like really obvious, or you might think they are, and some of them are really out there and like just what is he saying here. So it's been an adventure working my way through that. And then let's see, what else do I got over here? I've got just stacks of like partially read books because I'm so fucking ADHD. I'm like, oh, but then I want to check this thing out. Oh yeah, working my way through H.P. Lovecraft's
Oh,
complete
yes,
collection.
yes.
Definitely contributes some influence to my overly florid writing style, but it sure is a shame what a toxic, xenophobic dickhead narcissist he was. But
Oh, oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I know about all that.
yeah,
It's
he's a
what
pretty
a guy.
garbage person, but he wrote some pretty good stories now here
Well,
and there. So
he definitely loves his craft, but he doesn't love everyone else.
loves his craft. That had to be intentional.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
there's no way that's his actual last name. It's gonna
No, I think it
surely.
is. I think it is.
Really?
Yeah, I
Damn.
think
All
it is.
right, fair
It
enough.
was.
You
I
know
mean,
what?
it's the 1920s. People had weird names back then.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But I don't know for books. I don't know. I guess I'm not as my list of books isn't as what you should call it, very like not as I guess very basic. I
I
would
mean,
say
that's
like
totally fine too. Like
yeah,
I had just has so. I mean, This Is How You Lose the Time War is super basic. It's just
yeah.
lesbian sci-fi romance. Like, let's go.
No, like fair
You know,
enough. I don't know, like
what
the books
what more do
I
you
read.
need in a book, girl?
That's fair. You know what? That's totally fair. I read like a little bit of horror stuff. The Diary of a Wimpy Kid books, because
Hell yeah.
I find it interesting because when I read them as a kid, and a lot of people picking it up now that Greg Hively's actually a sociopath, and like the more you read back into it, it really kind of shines through, and it's kind of messed up, but I kind of enjoy it for like that with that added context. But yeah, one of my friends was my roommate at the time. He was reading books about like astral projection, so like I gotta ask him for his collection because I feel like that'd be really interesting to learn about.
Yeah, definitely. I went on a similar like hitting up my childhood books kind of journey. I guess it's been a few years now, but when I was really little, I was obsessed with the Animorphs books
Mm.
by K.A. Applegate. And so I had at one point, I almost had the whole collection. So then my mom, a few years ago, was like moving or whatever and was like, I found this old box of all your Animorphs books. Like, do you want? And I was like, send them to me. So she mailed me this whole box of like 60 Animorphs books. And I read every fucking one of them. And I went and found the two books that I was still missing and like read those two. And like, for the most part, I mean, it got a little iffy in the middle because she was using a lot of ghostwriters, but like for the most part,
Ah.
that is an iconic, groundbreaking kids series, and it's
Mm.
also crazy. Like in light of how you're young, right? You're like early 20s or something.
Yeah, 22.
Oh my god, you make me sick. So, so you wouldn't know this, but pre 9/11 people just didn't like give a shit and trusted kids to do things. And so like this series is a really insightful and like topical uh view of a pre like a just barely before pre 9/11 like late 90s world, and like it feels so fucking foreign. Like these kids are out, riding their bikes and like fighting aliens and shit. And it's like, well, but aside from the aliens part, I mean, I was doing that in my mind. Like that would be unthinkable now. And
Mm.
but then also the book's content itself. I don't know if you know anything about the series. I'm not going to info dump like forever about it because I could, but it is it is shockingly graphic and brutally violent and like
Oh.
unflinching in its portrayal of like the horrors of war and like and PTSD. Like some of these kids
Oh
literally
wow.
get actual PTSD. It's not called as such, but it changes their personality and like their actions, and they have the panic attacks because of all this stuff that they're witnessing. And I think it shows a deep respect for the capability of kids to internalize and understand these kind of really serious issues that now as a society we like find ourselves like, oh well, we can't show kids that oppressors exist, like we can't let them know about what's happening in Palestine, for instance, and like we
Yeah.
can't,
It's
and it's like,
rough.
why? I was reading this
So
shit at age like 8 or 10 and that was fiction. Like they're seeing, let them see it. Kids have a really strong moral compass, and I think
yeah.
it's really imperative that we give them the chance to exercise it. So I think those
Yeah.
books were kind of my first introduction to the
Yeah.
horrors of war.
Yeah. I understand like why people might want to mollycoddle them a little bit to keep them, quote unquote safe. But I don't know. It's just like, and when you were a kid, like those are like your formative years, and if you can like
Right.
develop like just a good moral compass for like everybody, I reckon that's okay. And whether you learn that, you're still learning, it's still
Well, and
like you're learning life.
they use the same arguments for everything, right? Whether it's something that's like, oh, we got to protect them from war. It's like we got to protect them from knowing that trans people exist, that gay people can exist, and like, okay, it's actually, this is a reflection not on the kids but on you.
Yeah,
And
like I never really understood why like that was like a thing. Like I don't understand like why people are afraid of gay people and trans people. Like they're not hurting anybody as far as I know. But
no, I mean
yeah,
it's because it's just a puritanical morality culture. Like deviance is punished, like conformity is good, and you don't want your kids to know that these other paths exist. That if they do have these gay feelings, that it's actually okay to act on them. We can't have that. We got to make sure that they live miserable, like conformist lives, and then that's going to be the ticket to adulthood. But I think ultimately, like people just forget that you're not raising kids, you're raising adults,
yeah,
and that's where we have to pivot to a little more as a society. We're going to fix all society's problems here, Vikram, just you and me.
hell yeah. Well, let's take as many interviews as it takes. But I gotta ask as well, because I remember you mentioning that you also are. I don't remember what the word is, but you're a drink person. You make a lot of
Oh,
drinks.
yeah, that's a diplomatic way. We prefer to call ourselves alcoholics.
Oh, okay.
No, no, I like to say that I disguise a problem by calling it a hobby. But I have a very serious bar, and it was kind of during the pandemic. Like I'd been into cocktails before that, but I had a couple dozen bottles, and I'd make my old fashioned or whatever, and enjoy it. But then like during the pandemic, when we're all like stuck at home, it's like, well, what better place to be quarantined than at the bar? So,
True. You know what? Fair enough.
so but then also it's like I'm big into sensory experiences and like immersive storytelling and all that kind of stuff. And so to me, when you've got the not only just these spirits that are many times like storied and iconic to like representations of their culture, you then also have these drinks that the spirits go into, and the drinks also have these stories and history attached to them.
Ooh.
And then of like the bartender that invented it back in the 1850s or whatever. And it's kind of a way to transport yourself through time to this shared connection that we have through sensory experience of like the same beverage. And it just provides a window into like that mindset, or that world, that time that these people might be enjoying. But then from a purely selfish standpoint, it's also like I'm stuck in the house on quarantine. I want to drink a drink that reminds me of like my honeymoon in Jamaica.
Oh,
It's
nice. Fair
also
enough.
transportational for the drinker's own past memories. I could have a pina colada or a Bahama Mama and like think about a vacation I took, or I'm not stuck in my office. I'm on a beach somewhere, like at least in like
Yeah.
some tiny little way. So yeah, there's a whole lot. I've probably got about 200 bottles of
Oh wow.
various liquors and stuff now that are at least mostly full. I think that would be, if they were all empty, then that's how you would know it's an actual problem.
No, it's only a problem when you run out.
Yeah, that's see, exactly.
But yeah, this might be hard to sort of like put together. But was there like a has there been like a favorite drink that you've made that you've concocted and then tried?
No, I think I'm in too deep for that kind of question. It's uh, I would I would say like of different categories of drinks, I could probably pick my favorites, but like I would say my specialties are like pre-prohibition, like historical cocktails, and then tiki drinks. I love the
Mm.
complexity and the varying flavor profiles that those have. And so, but then I mean, I also love a good margarita. Who doesn't love a
Oh yeah.
nice, drinkable, classic, refreshing margarita? So, and then you can riff off those 100 ways. Make it like a tamarind with like tahine rim kind of thing, or like put some elderflower liqueur in it to elevate it,
Ooh,
or
nice.
But if I'm sitting at home and just like I want to make a drink, I'm probably gonna make a Jack and Coke or something like.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't want to bust
Classic.
out the 12 different ingredients to make a white zombie or some other really elaborate tiki thing, but it's just every mood has its own perfect accoutrement.
Yeah, I think my favorite drink that I've had. Well, I don't know if it counts as a drink, but like the Jello shots, I love them. I love Jello shots, man.
I've we had a party, I don't know, it's been a few years now, but like we decided it was one of the first parties we had post COVID, and we decided to try out some jello shots, and we put way too much gelatin in them. So they were like, you almost had to be take bites out of it. And I was like, this is terrible. Actually, like this was
Yeah,
a mistake. They're not good when after the party there's still like more than half of them left. It's like
yeah.
I think we just got to chalk this one up as an L.
No, it happens. You're never gonna get it right the first time.
Yeah, but I would say if there was like a drink that I most often think of as my favorite, it would probably be the Vieux Carré, which is a
Ooh,
like a New Orleans riff on a Manhattan that
oh yeah.
uses equal parts cognac, rye whiskey, and oh my god, come on, vermouth, sweet vermouth,
Mm.
along with bar spoon of Benedictine, bunch of Peychaud's bitters, Angostura bitters. Put it all over a big old ice cube, little twist of lemon. It's heaven.
Oh, that
So
sounds
good.
great. I want to try that.
Well, come to Vegas. I'll make you one.
I but actually, because like with taste and like different sort of drinks, like what are your thoughts on beer? Because I despise beer. I hate the
Oh,
taste of beer.
I mean, I think that a whole lot of things. Oh, you're veering dangerously close without realizing it to a another one of my soapbox topics, of which there are many. But about like, well, actually, shit, I'm old now. I guess it's been like 10 years ago. Uh, I had this epiphany that my life had never gotten better because I didn't like something, and so I had grown up a very, very picky eater. Didn't. Uh, I liked controlling my meals because I had had, without trauma dumping, a difficult childhood in many respects, and so controlling my food was one way that I could like find some measure of control in my life. Well, so anyway, I ended up like just not eating anything. No,
Mm.
no peppers, no onions, no like green things in my ramen, no like just pathetically childish, puerile, if you will, palate. And so, but yeah, then this box checked in my brain and dialed turn and was like, wait, I'm only robbing myself here.
Mm.
So I just set about trying to acquire as many tastes as I could, whether it was started out with coffee. And then a few years later, beer was also on there. And I think like anything, there's pathways into it that like are easier than others. Usually you find like some little like thing that you can hook a fingernail or two into to like start climbing up that wall.
Yeah.
But I would say try a Radler beer, or which is often like a wheat beer or a Weiss beer that's mixed with lemonade or something like that.
Yeah.
And that'll open the doorway. And, if you jump straight into IPAs, you're going to have a bad time. But
Yeah.
also, IPAs just suck. I'm sorry. I'm brave enough and I've drank enough to admit it.
Yeah.
I'll drink one if it's given to me for free. But
Yeah.
let's be honest. If we got a choice between an IPA or a beer that's like actually good, just say choose
Yeah.
the malt.
Yeah.
Choose the nice warm malty beverage. You're not impressing anyone with the
That's true.
super hoppy stuff.
Yeah. Also, well, I'm not gonna pry or anything, but like I do want to commend you for like taking that jump from trying new things because like it's 'cause I don't but you mentioned it was really rough, and I'm not gonna pry into details, but I do really want to commend you for making that change because like and taking the leap because like that's genuinely very impressive and like
Oh well.
yeah
I don't know about impressive. It's I think that all of us would find ourselves ultimately in a happier place if we could like take a step back, look at our life's journey as it is one long narrative, and we are the author of it, and we are also the protagonist. And so, like,
Hmm.
how do I want this story to go? And so, rather than like, being in, it's easy to say, when you're not down in the trenches, like I have been for the last few years. But like now that I'm out of those trenches and I can actually like breathe again somewhat, and things are looking up a little bit. It's like, if I'm just sitting on autopilot, knee jerking every one of my day's decisions for what's going to bring me the least amount of pain right now, I'm going to end up in a really, really like lethargic and unsatisfied and poor in life experience kind of place. And so I just decided like it's worth that upfront discomfort if it means that I can start finding new things to appreciate. And then that in turn just starts falling dominoes like left and right, momentum in all sorts of different places. Cause like, well, if I can make myself like coffee, I could make myself like beer. Well, I could make myself like this other genre of music. Well, I could make myself like anything. And suddenly you've got these whole new chunks of like the world that you previously found nothing appreciable in, and now you do, and you are the one that benefits from that. So I'm really passionate about it.
Hell yeah, I'm really glad, man. I also wanted to ask as well. You were in JoJo's, I'm pretty sure.
Yep, just a little bit, but I was.
You were, if I'm not mistaken, you were the attorney with the big old ears, right?
Yep, I was that shithead lawyer.
Yeah. Well, what was recording for that like? I gotta ask.
Uh, it's funny because like there's a group here in town in Vegas that I think they're although hilariously I think they're called the Arizona Voice Acting Guild Las Vegas chapter, but
Oh wow.
they get together and they do like live dubbing for like fan dubs and stuff, but they'll practice with groups and then they'll record it. They've got engineers like on
Hmm.
site that are like recording it and then they play it back for everybody. They don't like distribute it anywhere because that
Oh yeah.
copyright stuff, but
Yeah.
from like a practice standpoint, it's really fun. But like what I was laughing about when the first couple times that I went and when I was talking to some of them afterwards was like, y'all would be really disappointed if you knew how very different the real like reality of recording anime and whatnot is compared to this very collaborative, very fun and spontaneous and like quality oriented stuff that you all are doing here. It's just like a lot of these recordings you're making sound better than a lot of shows dubs because you're acting off each other. They've got a group of like four that are doing the scenes and stuff. And it's like, man, I wish we could do that. But that's just not the workflow for 98% of anime. So the very long-winded answer to your question or context for the answer to the question is, it was me sitting in this booth right here
Oh,
for,
it was remote. That's pretty cool.
yeah, I was doing it remote. Doing that for like 2 hours, and then I connected to the director on Source Connect, and I think it was Bang Zoom. I forget who
For
does
JoJo,
JoJo.
yeah, probably. Yeah.
Probably Bang Zoom. And then they were on Source Connect, and so they I streamed the audio over to him. We like went line by line through the show, and then that's it. So it's pretty underwhelming. And then I got my check for $150 or
Oh
whatever
yeah,
anime pays, just pathetically bad. You do it because I grew up watching anime and on Toonami like we all did, and well, maybe you didn't, you whippersnapper, but
hey, no, I had Toonami.
but I had like 100 manga. I spent my summer paychecks on manga like all the other nerds did. So it's fun to contribute to media that was really pivotal for me growing up.
Yeah, was Jojo one you read? Because like it
No,
got really popular in like the 2010s.
no,
But
I've
yeah,
literally I watched like 6 episodes of season 1 with my
oh yeah,
wife, and she was like, "This is too weird. I don't want to watch this anymore." And then
oh well, if you think
I've
that's
never.
weird,
I know,
then
yeah, that's what I hear. I was like, I don't think it's even started to get weird yet.
oh
Like,
yeah,
so,
oh man.
yeah.
Also, is the lawyer dead? I don't remember.
Oh yeah, he dies that same episode.
Yeah, I was gonna say like I don't know if he just got punished, or he just fucking died. But I
No, it's
guess
in the
he.
credit scene. He like shows up in that first episode and sells out Jolene, and then shout out Kira Buckland, who I
Mm,
dearly love. We did enjoy that because that was like the first time that been in scenes together, so that was
hell
fun.
yeah.
But then like it's the credits of that first episode. He gets his head like cut off or like choked out or something
Yeah.
in his car, and yeah, then he's like toast. So I think he had flashbacks in a couple other episodes, but like
Yeah.
it was mostly just that one. So came out
Oh,
strong and then left strong.
yeah. I mean, look what he did. He in a weird way, he was the catalyst of Jolene's prison arc, if that
Definitely.
makes sense. Yeah, this wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for him. So I would say he's the most important character in Stone
Yeah,
Ocean.
exactly. I think so too.
Hell yeah, because if Jolene didn't go to prison, then
It
there's no
wouldn't have had a
Stone Ocean.
show.
Exactly,
Really,
you know?
really, that whole show depended on me.
Exactly. You
If you
carried it.
think about it, it's basically my show.
You know what? Fair enough. You're gonna put your name on every episode's credits now,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
for that.
Got to remember
um,
your roots. Remember where you came from.
mm, exactly, man. I just wanted to ask as well because you mentioned that you were in a metal band before doing voiceover. So what was like the transition like from metal singing to voiceover? And did you like practice with metal singing like I'm guessing like way before you joined the band?
Oh yeah, I'd been doing metal vocals for years before I was in this particular band. And then it was just a band of like other college guys that they were all music majors, and then I was pursuing a music business degree instead, which is really only a thing in Nashville. But then we're trying to get the band off the ground. We played like in a few different states and played shows for friends, and so we put out like 3 albums, EPs, I guess. And then I started doing um, I started doing voiceover like as like a side thing while I was still working at the label in like 2011, and didn't have much luck at it. But which in hindsight, I have no idea how I possibly could have thought I would, because like the stuff I was recording was so dog shit bad that like I still have some of the auditions, on like an external hard drive from back then, and like I
Oh,
went back
nice.
to go see where I came from, and it was like so beyond bad that it went from being like, oh, this isn't even funny. I'm like actually like secondhand humiliated for myself
Oh, yeah.
that I was so ignorant. I was like on an SM58, like in an untreated room, like just next to the computer. It's just pathetic. So, yeah. So anyway, the transition was mostly me like learning what to actually do while working at the label, and then finally quit my job at the label in 2013. I was working in sales a lot at the time, like selling music and actually selling a lot of like choir music to churches of all things. And
Oh, wow.
And so, but at some point I was like, well, if I can sell music, I can sell myself. So,
Hmm.
if I can work with all these clients, it's voiceover is basically a sales job.
True.
I'm just
Yeah.
selling my ability to give their product, service, or business peace of mind and the ability to sound more professional. So I just set out as if it was a sales job during that transition, like calling up production houses and companies and going to mixers and networking events and stuff. And so, the band was always ever kind of a, we rehearse in the evenings, and then I the do shows where we need to or can, and then but it was less of a transition from like metal into voice acting as much as it was a transition from like office job at a label into voice acting while the metal band was still like just kind of happening the whole time.
Yeah.
And so we didn't really stop or slow down until I was like, "Hey guys, sorry, I need to move." Like I'm
Mhm.
going because things had been going pretty well in Nashville, and I was having to fly out several times to LA for sessions and stuff. And so eventually it was like, I just need to be there.
No, that's fair. I also wanted to ask as well, like, did the I'm really curious. Did like the church ever find out you ever did like you were doing middle behind the scenes?
Oh yeah, they knew it wasn't a secret.
Oh, okay,
And
that's good.
we weren't like satanic metal band. In fact, there was a lot of Christian content. I wouldn't say we were a Christian band. It was more of like we were a band of Christians at the time.
Yeah,
Um,
that makes sense.
I wouldn't call myself a Christian now, but this was 15 years ago or something. So
Yeah, because I
so yeah,
imagine like
in general, it was like not it wasn't violent. Well, it
okay,
sounded violent, but it was like
but it wasn't.
violence
Yeah,
against this. A lot of our themes were about like violence against the self to like
yeah.
die to yourself to like pursue something better. So it was like ultimately kind of hopeful.
Okay,
Tried to.
okay. So like 15 years ago, that's more like I think that's around where like Skillet and like 3 Days Grace and
I
like that
was
kind of.
working at Skillet's record label. Yeah.
What? That
So
is so cool. Did you ever
yeah.
get to meet them?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
Yeah,
that's
and
so
went to
cool.
several of their shows, and so it's kind of that vibe. Although I wouldn't say we were even as overt as Skillet was, because they had like songs on Christian radio at the time
Mm.
too. So, but it was common enough of a thing that like people didn't like. Oh, okay, you know, they knew that there was a metal movement that was a number of different bands, like Under Oath, I think was kind of
Mm.
similar to what we were doing too, in that like subject matter regard. But
Oh man, I love Skillet so much. Like
yeah,
that
they're pretty
that
good.
that band has been a part of my childhood for so long. Like I've just seen so many AMVs with Monster. It's like it's such a,
The AMVs. Oh yeah, dude.
there's so many. There was one for like Sonic, Dragon Ball, Hero Factory. There's always a Monster AMV or something.
Yes.
So I always
Yeah,
so always
that was
yeah.
like ubiquitous. You couldn't escape the monster AMVs.
It's what's funny? Monster is still trending. Like I still hear it on like TikTok and stuff. So like it hasn't really
Really?
gone away. Yeah, really, it's actually trending. But like sometimes it's like slowed down to get like that
Oh
alpha
yeah, yeah.
sigma male kind of vibe going on. But
Are you into Bad Omens? I feel like if you like Skillet, you'd like Bad Omens a lot.
oh, I've not heard of Bad Omens
Oh,
before.
you should look them up. They're like the crossover like metal. I don't know if I'd call them pop, but like the same kind of deal that Skillet did, which is like they can be pretty fucking heavy when they want to be, and then but then they can also be really beautiful and like lyrical and stuff. Bad Omens does a really great job of that.
That's pretty good. I
They're
also
really really good.
I also gotta ask, as someone who is a middle singer and been in the middle and still is, um, what are your thoughts on Limp Bizkit?
New metal was awesome
Yeah,
and still is awesome. Fight me. No, I was never a Limp Bizkit fan necessarily, but like I never really understood the hate because there were plenty of other bands doing more or less what Limp Bizkit did that didn't get
yeah.
that kind of hate. And you see their influence, as funny as it sounds, like you see the influence that they had. And, I was a huge Korn fan, for instance,
Yes, I love corn.
and huge Disturbed fan, was a huge Mudvayne
Mm,
fan, huge Slipknot fan. I was a
yes.
diehard Slipknot fan at the time. And like, especially Slipknot, which is, they've got a little bit of controversy here and there with like being sellouts. Like when Duality came out, everybody was like, "Oh, they're going away from their roots," like they always do.
Oh, wait, that was wait. Duality was like was them selling out really?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. The first two albums are way heavier.
Interesting. I'll have
Oh
to go
yeah,
back and listen.
like really raw, way more profane and violent, and like really, really raw is the best word. It sounds like it's recorded in a garage, and it fucking rules. It sounds so visceral.
I think
The
what was it?
self-titled album and then Iowa
Because
were
I
that.
heard because I heard a song from them recently. It's called Eyeless. Is that before that
Yeah,
era?
Eyeless
Yeah.
is from the original album,
Okay.
self-titled album. That song rules.
Yeah.
But so when Duality came out, everybody's like, you sell out, it's commercial, they want the money, which shut up. But then my point being that like on their older albums, like the self-titled album, they did a lot of Limp Bizkit-esque kind of fast-paced rhythmic rap sections. And it's like,
Mm.
you guys are the fans of this are the same ones that are shitting on Limp Bizkit, but like, y'all, it's the same. It's the
It's
same. It's
weird.
just a different veneer on the same like or different facade on the same building ultimately. So
I'm not gonna lie. I think that people hated Limp Bizkit because they just hated Fred. Let's be real.
yeah.
They
I
just
mean,
hated
he's
Fred
he's
first.
polarizing. He's kind of annoying. He also was like a weird white guy dressing up in a lot of like cultural appropriation, whatever. But
Oh,
like,
that's true. Yeah.
who cares? That well, they didn't care back then. That cultural appropriation wasn't a topic of discussion really in like 2003. Certainly not amongst like the Midwest that I grew up in. So I'm sure
It's really
somebody's.
it's really weird, but Limp Bizkit's like Fred Durst especially like it really his vocals like really inspired me to like go like low and also like low and gravelly, but also really high, if that makes sense. Because he's all like, yeah, I
Yeah,
bet
the
you fly virgin,
contrast.
I bet you fly virgin, little man, like that kind of stuff.
Well, it's like combination of like some of the ferocity and aggression, but then a lot of mockery. On the higher stuff, it's really taunting and smug, and so like I
Yeah,
think that is kind of what pissed people off because they're like,
yeah.
"Who do you think you are, being all smug? Like you're a fucking nerd, dude." Like, but yeah, it was. It, everybody wants to shit on something. I hate elitism as a concept is really stupid to me. I think there's
Yeah.
redemptive. There's stuff to find redemption in most all created media.
I also because you mentioned you're from Vegas, right?
So I've lived all over the place. I grew up in Illinois, and then I went to school in Missouri for a couple of years, and then
Oh,
I went to Nashville for 9 years, and then I was in Los Angeles for 3 years, and now I'm here in Vegas. So I've kind of been everywhere.
I gotta ask. I guess I'll find out, but why does everything stay in Vegas?
Well, they've changed that motto now, so
Okay.
unfortunately, which I think is dumb because that's a great motto. What
Yeah.
happens in Vegas stays in Vegas is so. I mean, that's iconic. So no, the new motto is what happens in Vegas only happens in Vegas, which is like
It's all the same.
it's like basically the same concept except lamer.
Yeah.
Because like the previous one is like whatever you do here, we're not telling anybody. You know,
Yeah. I
and
mean,
so
it's the
now it's
same.
like we're great and stuff you do here is special. It's like that's not nearly as fun though.
I mean, it's the same message kind of, but like it's more longer. Like the first one was more like short and sweet, but like kind of got to the point.
Yeah.
But like what
So
happened?
so I would say that because Vegas is great and you're never going to want to leave it.
True. I mean, unless you gamble all your money away and lose everything, but
True.
you know.
Yes. No, we don't gamble here.
Oh, okay. Okay, it's good.
The people that live here don't go to the strip.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's where the touristy stuff I'm guessing is the
Yeah,
strip.
it's
Yeah.
super crowded and expensive, and like unless you're going to like maybe a concert or something that's down there, or in my case, if I'm being like tour guide to friends that are visiting, we never go down to the strip.
Oh, fair enough. I also want to ask, what are your thoughts on VO Twitter? Actually, I'm very curious.
Oh no. Where this is going to go? You're trying to bait me into getting crucified by all the actor Twitter actors.
I can edit it out. So like,
No, I'm
it
not
does,
worried. Anything that I say it because I believe it.
oh, fair enough.
I'm not afraid of anything. If I've got an opinion that I shouldn't say, I should probably evaluate why I have that opinion.
That's
So
fair.
my opinion on VO Twitter is multifaceted. I could talk a long time about that community. I would say, it's nice to see the aspiring quote unquote hopefuls like pursuing a craft and making community and like doing stuff that they think is fun. I think they should quit calling themselves aspiring and just say
Yeah,
that they're actors because you are. I mean, whether or not you're as good as you want to be, whatever, but like, because otherwise there's never going to be a point at which you're like, okay, now I'm no longer aspiring. Now I am an actor. So it's like, well, you might as well just make that choice now.
yeah. I'm
Um,
really interested like why they say aspiring because like that entails like there's a
it
certain point they have to do and then they can be a real
Right. Yeah. It's
quote
because they
unquote.
don't believe in themselves and they don't think their creative output is at the level that a actor should be, and so it's a way of like undercutting their own validity. So that's why I'm like, just toss it out. You got to live into that truth, whether you think that you are there or not. The only way to get there is to put the line in the sand, the benchmark, and then like challenge yourself to reach it. Whether you're at it or not, you're still on that journey. So you can be an actor.
Yeah,
But in general, I think that most people, not just via Twitter, I think most people need to stop. They need no. You need to stop. There you go. Yeah.
yeah. Honestly, yeah,
Just stop. Okay. Um, what I'm trying to say is that people seek social media commiseration and accolades in equal measure, and they should not seek commiseration from a public platform. Because
yeah,
what I mean by that is that I just have lost count of the times that I've seen them post stuff that's like, why can't I get hired? Or like, I just got rejected from my agency today. Or like, I just,
ooh,
submitted for X thing and they threw it back in my face and said that I wasn't good enough. And, they're posting this with intent that their other Twitter friends are going to see it and be like, oh, cheer up. You're going to get them next time, whatever. But what it does is it creates a permanent record for anybody that is
yeah.
going to your page that you're a failure. And like, why would you want to advertise
That's so
yourself
true.
as a failure? So like, I remember years ago, I can't remember the exact topic, but it was something like, what had I gone to Twitter to bitch about? It was something like, some drama related something or other, or like some job that, I think it was, I think I'd actually like slept through an audition that
Oh,
I had really wanted to get in on this big audition, and I'd slept through it and I felt so stupid. And I posted it on Twitter and just being like, kind of beating myself up a little bit. And Bob Bergen was a big mentor of mine in the early
mm,
phases of my career. Um,
love
we kind
Bob.
of bonded over the fact that we were both big brothers, big sisters mentors, and so he would provided me a lot of advice on that side of things because I had a rather difficult time here and there with some things that were happening in my littles situation. But anyway, he had also would weigh in on voice acting stuff with me, and so I posted that. Literally 7 minutes later, I get a text from Bob that's like, "Buddy, what are you thinking? You got to delete that." And I'm like, "Huh?" He's like, I'm like, well, but why? He's like, why are you advertising to potential clients that you can't stick to a deadline? And I was like, what am I doing? It was just this like
Oh, yeah.
crystalline moment of like the glass breaks in the anime episode, and I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, why am, and it kind of just flipped the switch in my brain of like, everything I'm putting on here is a net like investment into my perceived ability to be in
Yeah.
this career. And so I know a lot of people, I don't want to make it like a neurodivergent thing, but like I'm on the spectrum. A lot of, I would actually say it's a prerequisite. Like, I don't think I know a single, especially character voice actor, that isn't neurodivergent. And
Mm,
so a lot of us have this tendency to be just super transparent, and all we want is to be understood, and
mm.
and we want to be right. And that the confluence of those things ends up in people very often just blabbing absolutely every part of their life on social media, from
Yeah.
diagnoses to failings to their inadequacies, perceived or real. And you're doing just such a huge disservice to yourself, one, by defining yourself by your worst characteristics. And this is touching on a lot of the stuff that I talked about in that webinar that you and I were talking about earlier, my don't be that fucking guy class. That like, don't define yourself by those worst things, because what you're not
Yeah.
doing is you're not then also going and crowing about how great a job you did on this other thing. Because you don't, the way our brains work, our psychology is like, oh, if we do a good job, that's normal, but we never really ever do a good enough job, so we never post about the big wins. Or if we have big wins, they're NDA, so we can't.
True.
So it
Yeah.
ends up that your Twitter feed is just this fucking negative ass place. It's like, what are you doing? So I've literally, I've
Yeah.
been that bitch that's like text or DM'd some people that are friends or at least colleagues that I respect, to be like, dude, you gotta stop posting this stuff. I'm like, I'm being the
Yeah.
Bob connector.
I've also been I'm definitely guilty of posting stuff like that.
I,
Sure.
and like, not, and I know that a lot of the people that are watching this, especially if you're on the spectrum, the knee jerk thought is, well, I don't want to be disingenuous. I don't want to be one of those networking guys that only talks about how great I, and it's like, why do you think those are the only two options? Like,
Yeah.
why do you think that you can't be simultaneously genuine but also discerning, right? Like,
Yeah.
about how transparent you're being. So my challenge to anybody that's watching this is, go privately to your friends, your trusted like network of people, for commiseration and validation, and you're kicking the butt that you need.
Yeah.
Don't go to Twitter for that. Don't go to Instagram for that. It's just setting yourself up for uh, having to do much more work in the future to counteract
Yeah.
the perception that you built.
Yeah. Because everyone will be perceived in like anyway. So that's
It takes so long to build up a good reputation, and
yeah.
it takes nothing to destroy a reputation.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like it is like when I started like back in like 2018, I hopped onto Twitter like around 2020, I believe. It was really at the time it felt more I don't know. It was just it felt more supportive than I guess like sort of like nowadays. It's like you can be torn up. I've seen people like tear each other down over like the smallest things, and it really bothers me. And
I
it's like
don't think that's true. I'll just be real with you. I think that it's been as bickery and bitchy and backstabby as it has ever been.
really, damn.
Oh,
All
dude.
right.
I mean, a lot of it used to be in, there were some other places that these people would hang out, but like, there was a Facebook group called the VAA, Voice Acting Alliance, I think it was. And
Yeah, I've heard about that. Yeah,
man, that place was just a bitch fest. Like, constant bickering, constantly at each other's throats, and backstabbing and stealing like roles and complaining about everything. It's like, man, do you all ever turn off? Like, if you expended a quarter, a tenth as much energy into getting good as you do at vitriol that's being expelled, and invective at your colleagues, you would be on another planet in terms of talent by now. But
oh yeah,
people don't really do that. Most people are in this not to get excellent. not to get good there in it because they want bookings or credit or clout or, whatever. They want to feel like an actor rather than like feeling like they're excellent, because
Yeah.
you never get to feel like you're excellent. Those are really, so
Yeah.
it's the paradox of this business.
Yeah. It's really interesting in the sense that I don't know. It's more like, how do I say this? It's very difficult to talk about because like you don't want to like rub someone the wrong way, but I don't know. Twitter's not the world, if that makes sense. Like
It
there's a
so is not. In fact, it is almost irrelevant.
it's
It's so small a part of the world and such an echo chamber that like you guys have no idea how little any of this matters.
yeah, it's it's just I don't know. It's just really interesting, and like because I get like why Twitter is very important to voice actors. Like I like especially I understand why, but I don't know. It's having a life outside of that and just enjoying it and not being on Twitter is I genuinely appreciate that
I
so
think
much.
I think
Yeah,
exposure to Twitter is like it's almost a form of, especially now post Elon taking it over. It's basically
yeah.
like a form of cancer that like eats away not
Oof.
only your, and that sounds hyperbolic, but I'm not even like exaggerating. It like eats away your mental health. It teaches you that you should be as knee jerky and impulsive as possible because you get rewarded for it, right? You get more engagement.
Mm,
It teaches you that the most extreme voices are the ones that are the right ones, and usually that is on the right because the platform is like
yeah.
forcing everybody into watching ads and shit for fascists.
Mm,
But it's also like not much reach. Like not many people
yeah.
use Twitter really. I mean, the biggest tweets get like a few 100,000 likes.
Yeah.
That's nothing, like y'all. Like that's less than one out of every 2,000 people in this country that might
That's
see this.
like a whole billion of people, that
Yeah,
got
it's
info
not.
still.
This is not the evening news. This is not like a big call out on the front page of the New York Times. It's not.
Yeah.
So just chill. Just don't take it so seriously. It's not that
Yeah.
serious,
Yeah.
unless it's Palestine, which is very
Oh,
serious. I just
yes.
want to be very
Absolutely.
clear about
Mm.
that.
Yeah. I don't it's more like you can you just as long as you just continue to work on your craft and just be a good person, I think that's all you can really hope for. You don't have to like constantly prove it all the time. Like I understand because I definitely was that person that'd be like, I'm a good person, guys, I promise. But
I think
yeah.
that in general, I don't want to go into my entire, how to not be that fucking guy class or lecture, I guess, not really a class. But I think that if I could summarize all of it in like one or two sentences, like what you just said is it. That's like, stop trying to prove yourself because you can't. There is nothing you can do that will like, okay, now I've done it. I have proved myself.
Yeah.
Like all you do is look like a weird tryhard, you know?
Yeah.
So like it's counterintuitive, but like if you want to prove yourself, you just have to be chill and to work on yourself and just let it happen. And same with
Yeah.
building, friendships and relationships. If you stop trying so hard, it will just happen. And it
Yeah.
feels like you should be doing more. You shouldn't. In fact, if you do, it's bad. So like
Yeah.
that is the main takeaway from that whole class is just try less hard externally, try
Yeah.
more hard internally. And then
Ooh,
that's
yes.
how you will breed authenticity and connection.
Hell yeah. No, well, very well said. I was live for the lecture, and I think you can watch it still, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe not
So it
anymore,
was
but
available for a month afterwards.
yeah.
I might do another one because it's been about 6 months. But
Oh Jesus Christ! Why would you say that?
I
This
know,
year's gone
right?
by so fast.
This year has evaporated. No, it's been a pretty slow summer with the strike and everything, and I could use a
Mm,
little spending money, so I might
no,
I
fair.
might do another one anyway. So if you're watching this, go look out for how to make connection. How no, hold on. It was called How to Effectively Make Connections and Leverage Your Voice Acting Without Being That Fucking Guy,
Hell
or
yeah! What a
something like
title.
that.
You should make a book. That'd be great.
I honestly, I thought about it, but then I'd be one of those like self-help book writing types, and I'd frankly rather go like look at cool rocks and ride my dirt bike.
Hell yeah. What's your favorite rock?
Oh my God, why do you do this? Rock or mineral?
Oh, you know what? Both. It's making it
Favorite
harder.
mineral is selenite, which
Oh,
is
nice.
crystalline gypsum, because it's spectacular. It comes in a huge variety of different forms, whether it's like big, massive gypsum spars or like desert roses or a whole bunch of different forms, and it's also pretty darn common. So you can get some spectacular pieces for really, really cheap. But now I live in the desert and I can just go find my own. So
True.
I've
Yeah, you know
I've
what? Fair
I've
enough.
dug up some really pretty awesome selenite pieces. So that's super fun. So favorite rock. That I would probably it probably changes. I probably will whichever one I'm currently looking at. No,
Yeah.
I think sandstone is really wonderful,
Ooh.
and because it's so prevalent out here, but also because it's so um it's like what is the word I'm looking for? It's like evocative because like
Mm.
there's a number of places near me where you can go see the various strata of the layers of sand through time, and the colors are just spectacular. It's also really nice to climb on because it's got good texture. I do a
Hell
lot of
yeah.
rock climbing, but
Nice.
what I really like
Like
about it,
bouldering?
yeah, bouldering. I go to a
Hell
bouldering
yeah.
gym here, but then I also go outdoors. I went out to Grand Junction, Colorado, a few
Oh,
weeks
cool.
ago, and we were climbing and riding out there too. But what I really like about sandstone is that it captures not just the rock but also the wind in it, because in a
Ooh.
lot of different places you can see the cross bedding of different layers from like where the wind blew the dunes and then like blew another direction, and so it deposited this layer like this other angle, and so it's this really cool window into um, the wind and the sand and like the whole desert over time, millions and millions of years ago, and I just get lost in like envisioning what it must have been like.
Hell yeah. You know your rock's good, sir. I will say.
I've got quite a few. You can't see. I've got my library back there is basically a museum for all
Oh yeah.
my special interests.
Hell yeah. You also mentioned a dirt bike as well. So like BMX dirt bike kind of thing?
So my particular bike is, oh no, not mountain bike, like motorcycle.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
I do trail riding and kind of just desert shenaniganery. I've got a Sherco SEF 250, so it's a 250cc dirt bike. It's a enduro bike, so it's built for like long distance trail racing. But I haven't started doing like actual races yet. I'm more interested in riding a mile and stopping and looking at a mine shaft and digging up something cool, and then like riding
Oh,
another
that's so
mile and
cool. I love that.
taking picture of a cool cactus and ride another mile and look at a
Damn,
tarantula
I
hunt.
haven't. Oh, it's been a bit. I need to go see a cactus.
What'd you say? You broke up for a second.
I was gonna say, like, I haven't seen a cactus in a while. I need to go see a
Oh,
cactus.
you gotta go see a cactus. No, you can if you want to see all my wasteland photography, because I've been posting a whole lot of my journeys. If you go to the Kara app, or it's like the new art social media called Kara.
Oh, I've heard about that. Yeah.
It's really cool. But one of the really cool things that they do there is they've got not just a feed like a Twitter-esque timeline, but they also then let you mark certain pieces as portfolio pieces. And so then you've got like your whole like gallery that is just all the art media that you've posted that you think was your best pieces, that you
Mm.
can have there. So what I love taking photos of artworks that I find out in the wilderness, and then writing poems to go along with them, and then I
Oh,
post
that's
them
so
up on my
cool.
Kara. So it's kara.app/sandwraith for anybody that
Awesome.
wants to go check that
Oh,
out.
it even popped up. That's so cool. I love that. Hell yeah. I have one last question for you, Michael,
Yeah.
and this is a biggie. Uh, what keeps you going, man?
The knowledge and surety that there is still more creation and beauty left undiscovered in this world. And I want to go find it and experience it and share it with other people.
Hell yeah. It sounds like you're doing that already. So,
I am now. It's been this last year has been a, a hard push toward the life I want to be leading and the person that I want to be. I just recently got through several of just brutally miserable years of basically like speed running all of life's worst events, at least non-health related life events simultaneously. So I feel like now finally this big weight is lifted off and I can like start to actually like turn my eyes outwards again and yeah, to see all those things again with fresh eyes and to start creating more.
Hell yeah. That's a really nice answer. I love that.
Thank you.
And yeah, with that said, this interview comes to a close. Michael, thank you so much for
Just in
coming
time
on,
for
man.
Romeo.
Oh, there he is. I love him. Like,
Romeo, come here, bud. Come here.
What kind of dog is he?
He is a standard poodle. Come here, buddy.
Oh, I love poodles.
Come say it. Romeo, come.
Yes, come here, mate.
Yeah, there he is. Hey, buddy.
What a beautiful little guy. I also I have a Labradoodle. I also have a poodle.
Oh, nice. Up. Oh, up all the way. Come on. Be brave.
Watching
You being a goober. Okay, we'll just give you some pets.
It's okay. Hell yeah.
He does this where he just sits his head between your legs and so you could pet it and he'll just like
oh, that's so sweet.
It's pretty
he's just waiting. I love that.
It's pretty cute.
But yeah, Michael, where can people find you on social media and stuff?
About the only social media that I use anymore is still Twitter for some reason. So twitter.com/whathesaidvo is my Twitter. And I've started doing some Instagram stuff here and there. Instagram.com/actor Michael Schwalbe. But if you just Google my name, there are not many other Michael Schwalbes. And I've successfully crushed the ones that were in competition with me for my SEO. So finally, I'm on top. So take that, other Michael Schwalbes that are all doctors for some reason.
Oh, wow.
They can be the smart ones, and I'll be the artistic, tortured. I'm so good at feeling one.
It's got to be at least one.
Yeah, exactly. All right, thanks, man.
I'll also put your website in the description as well.
Yeah, you can do that, or I'll give you my link tree because that's where all my find all my music and stuff on my.
I also got to ask for the Twitter at what did he say? Well, what is it that he said?
Whatever paid his rate. Hey, shut up! You've been good for an hour.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
but
whatever. Yeah. I'm just the performing vocal prostitute. So if you pay me enough, I will say whatever you want me to.
I've never heard anyone call voice acting voice prostitute before.
Just stick with me, kid. You'll probably hear a lot you've never heard before.
That's great.
For better or for worse.
But yeah, Michael, again for coming. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys for the next interview. Bye, everybody.
Stay brutal.
Yeah.